Hi, this is Bruce Himmelblau with Indie Film Nation. We're talking with Ethan Eng with the film Therapy Dogs. So let's bring on Ethan. So hi, how's
Hey,
it going? Hi.
good.
So this is an interesting film. Actually related a little bit to it, even though I've been out of high school for quite some time. How did this project start? How did you kind of think of doing this project?
Yeah, it was just me and Justin were going through our high school years and there was a lot going on and we kind of wanted to capture something that our class could relate to and it was us putting our feelings on the screens and yeah, it was mainly just something for us to work through our emotions.
Did it help you get through high school more, or did it kind of like distract you from high school?
Well, I think both. I think, this movie was the only reason me and Justin really went. Um, it was for you can't really put me or Justin in a classroom and expect us to do anything productive. So this was our compromise.
Stop, 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 stop. Cop, 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 cop.
We're doing a movie. It's a student film.
Hello, my name's Ethan,
I'm Justin.
and this is our senior video.
So how did you first meet Justin?
Yeah, we met in grade 9, so like the first day of school, as soon as we came in there, and I immediately saw Justin and I knew that he knew that this was like really boring and we both had, mischievous ideas from then on.
And there's a lot of theories, and a lot of filmmakers today are saying, don't go to film school, just make your film. You really had no background in film, or what was your background before you started making your film?
Virtually none. Yeah.
And did you see this as a documentary or a narrative or a combination of both?
I saw it as a combination of both. So, you have things at your disposal when you don't have a big budget. A lot of it is reality, It's much cheaper to actually take advantage of the things that are actually happening around you than to try and, use all of these uh, bells and whistles to try and recreate something. So we played with it. We had some stuff that was narrative driven and a lot of stuff which was also, kind of teetering on reality.
So were you playing specifically yourselves, or was it based on a brand new character? Was Justin, or was he a character of Justin?
A character of Justin, and for me, a character of myself. We wrote this movie as a way for us to express our feelings, and kind of putting ourselves into characters was a way for us to kind of remove ourselves and be able to talk about what we were going through a lot more clearly.
So I saw there's a lot of shots around school and around the classroom. How did you pull that off?
Right. So, I mean, this movie kind of is a yearbook video in a way, and that was the premise we had when we were shooting it. Um, that way, it's kind of free flow throughout the whole school. It's a performing arts school as well, so none of the kids were really phased by there being a camera. And but yeah, I pretty much told people I was filming a yearbook video.
How long has your school been doing this yearbook video?
Usually it's something that's like student made. But yeah, like I'd say as soon as, digital camcorders started coming in and people can make their own videos, they, it went from photos to a yearbook video. And yeah, I think it's a tradition in every high school. You can go on YouTube and you can see years and years and years back of kids making their own senior videos.
So speaking of the dawn of digital cameras, what was this shot on?
Yeah, it was shot on a GoPro. It was shot on a Kodak like sport camera. And it was also shot on an Ursa Mini Pro, which is like the filmmaker's, option, I guess, for like a Super 35 sensor.
And so how did you choose which camera to use in which situation? Was it just what was available?
Yeah, so we didn't want the camcorders to be seen as a limitation in the story, even though it kind of was if you think about the real limitations of making this film. But at the same time, we want to incorporate it into the story. So we understood that, certain cameras have different like biases behind, the audience watching it. And yeah, so for example, using the Ursa to film me and Justin would kind of take on a more like a broader stroke and a bit more removed from the first person immediateness of Ethan and Justin filming with the GoPros. So yeah, everything was like a narrative choice.
And was there a narrative arc to this story, or was it basically just a vignette of scenes?
Uh yeah, I mean, a lot of it is just a vignette of scenes. That's kind of how it felt. In high school, it's like every day was just something new, and things are just flying off the walls, and we wanted to capture that. But at the same time, I think, you know, when you step back at a distance and you kind of look at what happens, we certainly did want to tell a story about, you know, uh, the rocky road to maturity in a way. Yeah.
Yes, I understand you titled it Therapy Dogs. How did you come up with that name?
Right. So that's a title that Justin came up with. I didn't commit to any title at all. I used to call this thing just like an untitled project, and I didn't want to title it until the film was finished. But Justin came to me with the idea of Therapy Dogs, and immediately made sense because that was our relationship at the time. That's kind of this film very much is about friendship, and the bond you'd have with like a therapy dog was very similar to the bond that me and Justin had both in front and behind the camera. So yeah, it means a lot. It's a personal one.
And how differently do you think this film would have been had you graduated in the year 2020?
It would have definitely been different. There wouldn't have been any awkward prom shots or like, um, kids would be wearing masks in the hallways, and the whole life would be different. But I do think that even if we were in 2020, we would have made this film anyways, because this wasn't really about capturing any certain period of high school. It was us just trying to express our lives at that moment. That was important. And yeah, it would have certainly been different. I'm lucky that we got the more exciting version with all of the chaos and kids, doing everything all over the school. But at the same time, really this movie was a diary. I'm sure there could have easily have been a 2020 version of Therapy Dogs.
And once you finished the film, what did you edit with?
Right, so more black magic, the filmmaker's option. We edited it on DaVinci Resolve, and that way you could just take the black magic raw footage and just put it in there. You can do all of your sound, your VFX, your color, all in one program, and just hit render. And that was like super convenient, and it's free, right? So yeah, professional tools, it's free. Like I'd pretty much recommend DaVinci Resolve to anybody who doesn't want to pay like, $50 a month for whatever else is out there.
Yeah, we have DaVinci. The one thing we have learned that it is RAM hungry, so you need
Mm.
a powerful system to, especially if you're editing in RAW.
Yes, yes, you need RAM. I had to my friend Walter, who has this production company, Shy Kids, I told him that I was struggling with editing the movie, and he let me use the Macs in his office, and they have like 128 gigabytes of RAM. So that was a bit of a lifesaver.
And so you start shooting this in what, HD and in 4K, or were you working in trying to even out your resolution?
Yeah. So the timeline was 4K, and the Ursa Mini Pro, as you know, is like a 4K camera. So yeah, set the timeline to 4K. Any other footage, is scaled to that. Yeah, as long as we had like the 4K covered, I wasn't too worried about the other, lower resolution footage, because really this is like a hyper collage of everything, and you're gonna have like some blocky pixels along the way.
Did you pull archive footage out for this film, or is it all you
Yeah.
ordered?
Okay, so I did pull archive footage, not for the beginning though. That was done with the Kodak camcorder. The really good thing about the Kodak camcorder is that when you zoom in, uh, digitally, the grain is actually, it looks good. So later in the film, there's a montage of like all of the senior videos that came before, and it's like over 100 videos from all of these different high schools uh, throughout the years, and it's interlaced with Our Town, kind of like showing a birth, life, and death of what would be, a high school year.
Yes, funny that you mentioned our town, because my senior year of high school was my last year. I was in theater and vowed that I was to be at least one school play before I graduated, and it was our town.
Yeah, who'd you play?
I played the Undertaker. I think his name was Joe
Oh,
Stoddard.
wow. Yeah, that play, it doesn't really get old, does it?
Nope. And again, I think a friend of mine is in Texas. He's actually doing our town for his community theater, so it's still relevant.
I think it's so funny to like have little kids play Our Town, because there's a certain self-awareness that I don't really think is fully realized at that age. I remember like we first read that play in grade 9 because our teacher wanted to like spook us. In a way, he was like, getting us all to read Our Town. He's like, "Do you guys get it? You guys don't get it." But it really is, yeah. I don't know. There's something like that gives me chills about seeing footage of high schoolers perform Our Town. You really don't know what you have until it's gone.
Pretty much, yep. And again, you said you went to a performing arts school. Do you think these days, where everything is pretty much public, we live in public, that all high school students are pretty much acting or performing?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, hey man, you look at any Instagram or whatever, kids are always broadcasting. That's kind of the thing. Um, like what we did was just kind of put it into like a narrative form, but really, I'm sure you could find every day at Kothra from that year, and some kid would have had it on video in some way. It's just the relation we have with media now. Like that's why it wasn't so, you know, crazy to film this under the guise of a yearbook video. When kids see a camera, they don't see it as something that's really invasive. They more see it as an opportunity to share.
I see there's a lot of music in this film as well. Was that written by some of the students?
Oh, right. So, I like to kind of slip in some music that it comes from out of that school. Of course, there's that scene with Kevin and he's performing his intermission song during Our Town. I thought that was really nice. Yeah, I mean, Kothra is a performing arts school, so you're just gonna run into like musical moments everywhere you go. But yeah, aside from that, the score was mainly backed by Sam Ray, who's from this band Teen Suicide, and that band was like a pretty, formative thing for me and Justin as we were going through high school and even today. So it's kind of awesome to have him on board with this movie.
So you've made it into Slamdance. Do you see this film getting distributed? Are you looking for distribution on this?
I mean, I'm always open to somebody slipping the ring on the finger, but we don't know, right? We'll see what happens when the festival ends. So there's certainly a lot of eyes on this movie. I think, I think the movie is a good story. And yeah, it's sent out to people. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, some first-time filmmakers use their first film as a calling card to say, "This is what I can do." Is that something you're doing with this film, and is Justin using it as a piece for himself as well?
Oh yeah, certainly. I always kind of saw this movie as a bit of a calling card or like a business card. I just hopefully this is like a launch pad to do, you know, crazier things with, more money and maybe have more people see it. I just wanted to share more stories and, do more crazy things. So that's kind of how I've been approaching it. And with Justin, it's really cool for him because he never really has acted in anything before, but clearly he's talented as well as stunt work. So I don't know, maybe we can see him in the next John Wick.
There you go. Thank you very much. This is great.
Yeah, no, this is awesome.
Where can we find out more about this film and more about you?
Yeah, so Therapy Dogs will be streaming on Slamdance until the 6th, but after that, you can just follow me on Instagram, ethan.eng, and yeah, you can see more updates with what happens.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, man.
Great.
Break it free from the mainstream, the studio machine. I want it my way. Indie Film Nation, you know it's gotta be.